We are live. JT here. Welcome to the huddle. For those joining us for the first time, whether you're watching live in the Facebook community, whether you're listening to it on the podcast, the huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. And the intention is to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why? Because success always leaves clues. I'm really enthused, folks. Again, as you can see here, it's a little bit different setup, but this is what I love about the huddle. It is really about having unscripted conversations, allowing the beauty of life to really unfold as it is. My guest into the huddle today is Leron Mitchell. How are you, Leron?
JT, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. So, brother, first and foremost, I just want to take a moment to just send you a deep sense of gratitude from my heart to yours. If anyone's watching this live, you can see here that Leron is on the road and he carved out time in his schedule so that we could have this conversation. So from the bottom of my heart, brother, I just want to say thank you for prioritizing this conversation and coming with us into the huddle today, brother.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thanks again for having me, man. Well, I think this is important, having this conversation and almost trying to give back a little bit, just kind of discuss my journey in life, sports, life after sports. Like this weekend right now, just been working a lot. And this was an opportunity for me to just kind of get away and kind of get aligned and grounded again. I have a deep appreciation for nature and outdoors, being an active person than I am. And growing up, being an athlete all your life, being involved with sports, being active all the time, we were outside all the time, having fun, or at summer camps, training for sports, getting ready for the season in the summertime, whatnot, and just being outdoors. And, now that I'm, getting up to almost 40 now, my life is indoors. A lot of it's working. And, this whole pandemic, this COVID, it was almost a bit of fresh air. It kind of allowed me to kind of get reconnected to who I really am, which is just I'm an active person. So even last summer, I was out. I got a bike last summer. It felt like freedom again. Felt like a kid. Just reconnected to just doing those sort of things, and I enjoy it. I really, really do enjoy it. And as we kind of transition and as offices, retail, the economy starts kind of getting, back to somewhat of a normal. I want to try to push that, the balance of where I'm being active in my life, and I think that's what's been lacking for me. But it's something definitely, it's going to be a priority, making sure that I have this balance where I'm working, putting in the hours that I need to in the office, but also making sure that, my physical and mental well-being is good too. And that's just being active, so yeah, going away to we're in Barrie right now, but we're going to Martin Provincial Park. It's just north of Sudbury, camping trip with some old friends. And we're going to do that from today until Sunday. So looking forward to that. Doing some hiking, maybe some kayaking, cooking on the fire, yeah, we're doing the whole tent and everything too, so just really excited, man. Just really excited, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really great when you share that, brother. And why I love that, Leron, is just the fact of that next play mentality. And this is where I believe sport, especially if you've played at a high level, really some of those fundamental lessons really kick back in. Like you were self-aware enough and objective with yourself to realize, I've been kind of pushing the work thing a little bit, and now it's time to unplug. It's time to connect back to nature, do what I love to do, it's move and get outside. And you're creating that space for yourself. So I just love that ability, that athlete mindset to sort of kick back in and create a solution as opposed to focusing on the problem.
Absolutely. You need to have balance, man. As you said, we've been doing this all our lives. Yeah. And, there's just been a big disconnect with not having that aspect of my life anymore. Just I'd say perhaps for the past 5 years, I just got into commercial real estate. I've been doing this now for about 5 years, and it's just been go, 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 working nonstop, 7 days a week, 70 hours a week, and just trying to be active, making sure I'm getting workouts in. It's challenging, and I feel off if I don't get that, and moody and things. And it's something I don't like. I don't know how people don't have that regimen in their life, that discipline in their life. I'm a miserable person without it. So it's crucial. I think that's success for me. It's also making sure that you're also healthy. And with COVID too, these pandemics, social, lack of social interaction and just being active, it's shining a big light on that. The need for that in society. So I don't know. We're not really talking about COVID yet, but like I think that's something that we need to focus on.
I love what you share there, Leron. It's just this idea of like, keep it simple. Again, both being athletes, it's that idea of like, what connects you back to center? What keeps you balanced? And one of the accessible things for everyone is really this idea of like getting outside, moving your body, right? And it's interesting, like just when you prioritize that, and yeah, it happens where we all kind of, fall off at times, right? It happens. It's, it's a game of life, but I love how it's like connecting you back to balance. It's kind of bringing you back to center. And that's where you just feel great. And when you feel great, life's just more fun, easy. It's more effortless.
Absolutely. No, it's I wanted to do more, like this with my journey with after football. It was just really trying to reinvent myself, I think. And, like I've always been known as an athlete, grew up, everyone knew me as an athlete, but reinventing myself it's been an ongoing process. And it's been this whole journey, I'd say in the past 10 years, is just a discovery of myself. Like I've just always identified as an athlete, but there's a lot more to me. There's a lot of more depth, like enjoy cooking, love cooking, something, like our family does a lot of. My mother used to do a lot of hosting and dinner parties and things like that. So that's something I've kind of, gravitated towards, is cooking. I like to cook for myself a lot, like to experiment a lot of things. Yeah. And again, it's just being outdoors, That's something that I love to do now,
Yeah.
So like it's been a fun ride so far.
Okay. So you bring up this idea where you've talked about, the last 10 years have sort of been this idea of like, quote unquote, reinventing yourself and really figuring out who you are. And I can appreciate that, right? I know I went through the same process when I left teaching and coaching in a traditional sense. And anyone that knows you knows that you've had a unique journey, right? So
yeah,
you started, right? And we talked about this last time is you started playing football in university, right? Which isn't the common path, but again, speaks volumes about you as an athlete, you as a person. And then you parlayed that into an opportunity. You played 6 years in the CFL. What has that experience like, sort of coming into football, maybe let's just say taking the road less traveled to get there? What was that sort of process like for you?
Wow. No, that's a really good question. I had the opportunity to play football in high school. I was always excelled. I did everything. I did volleyball, did cross country, so I can have a better base, have better training for the track season in the summertime. I dabbled in with soccer, baseball, but I think the two sports that I really excelled in when I was high school and elementary school, the grade schools, was track and field and basketball. And those two backgrounds, those two sports, I think they complement football very well. The thing that really attracted me to football was that I felt like it was the ultimate sport. I went down to Texas when I was 19 to University of Texas in Austin, the Longhorns, and I went down there for a track scholarship. And As a kid, all I wanted to do was, I wanted to be in the Olympics. We watched the who was Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson. Loved that shit, and I just grew up wanting to go to the Olympics. That was my ultimate goal. But when I went down to Texas, man, like that thing is literally, it's like a religion. It's almost like, what was those movies that we used to watch when we were younger? What was it? Not Blue Chips, but that one football movie in Texas where
Yeah.
I forget those movies, but like it's literally like that. Like literally, the entire city stops. It shuts down. People from all over the state come and tailgate and are like camp there, and it's a religion. And watching these athletes, watching these guys who I'm in residence with, I'm eating breakfast, lunch and dinner with these guys, like just like you and me, but the future NFL stars.
Yeah.
Cedric Benson was a guy who was my same year. He was a freshman guy who was at University of Texas. Roy Williams, the big receiver, who else is there? Quentin Jammer, another what's called QB, not QB, but cornerback. I think he played for the Chargers for quite some time. Really good career. But I watched them play, and I was like, oh my god, I can do this. Like I was into like elite athletes, and I was mesmerized. I was just, it's like, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I wasn't happy being down there. Again, I was just really disconnected. Like when you go down to, there's probably a lot of people who you've connected with and might be tuning in or something like that. When you go down to the States and you're on scholarship, you're really treated as a professional athlete. And like my time was their time. Like every single minute of my day was scheduled out. I had classes between 8 a.m. to noon. I had lunch, and then I'm on the track for like 3 or 4 hours, and I'm in the weight room, and then we had mandatory study hall, and then it was just bedtime, and it was repeat. Had no life. I was 19 years old, and I was all the way 2,000 or 3,000 miles away from home, and I just wasn't feeling it, man. That childhood dream to become like a professional or like a Olympian and things like that, and track and field just wasn't there. But what that passion kind of transitioned into football, and it's ultimate game, man. It's agility, it's mental, it's all mental, man. It's physical, it's speed, it's power, it's endurance. It's probably mind over matter more than anything, because everyone's playing hurt. As you're in contact sports, everyone's got something dinged up, torn hamstring, or groin's a mess. You might have a pinky that might be broken, or a toe that's broken. But that's the ultimate sport, and it was a challenge, and I wanted something challenging. It's always something. It was fun, and listen, it was tough as hell. Putting on the helmet for the first time, I was, what the hell is this? And the shoulder pads, like how I run it, I have to adjust my running form now, how to, to be able to move in that. So I think the first year when I gave up my scholarship after 2021, I think it was 9/11 year, and I went back home to London, Ontario, and went back home with the family, and enrolled at Western and called up Taylor. I say, listen, I'm giving them a track scholarship, but here's my background. I want to give football a chance. And it's like, yeah, come on in. I don't remember what was said, but here I'm there. I didn't have football cleats. I think I was wearing size 14. I'm normally size 12, like oversized pads. Everything was just like, oh man, it was bad. I must have looked horrible. But yeah, that first training camp, it was fun. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about football. So it's just a steep learning curve immediately. Huge learning curve. I had a lot of floor burns or rug burns, because we had AstroTurf or whatever on that field back then. Holy shit. Yeah, it was an interesting experience, but stuck with it. I had to sit out that first year due to like NCAA rules and OUA rules. If you're come from an NCAA school, you have to sit out a year. So I just really kind of just took it all in, man, and just I did whatever I could. I was burger squad, practice squad. I played any sort of look team they needed, kickoff cover, kickoff return, whatever, but that gave me an opportunity to really kind of figure out the game a little bit. Listen, like the guys that I was playing with, have been doing this pretty much all their lives, and they're the pros at what they're doing. Like they're the experts, so I was just trying to do learn as much as I could, as fast as I could from these guys, watching them play and do their thing. So it was tough, man. It was a tough transition, but again, it was just I love that brotherhood. You know, like we go out as a team. You know, on the strip after games. I'm. I literally just connected with Andy Taylor. Who's it? Andy Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, T-Man. This week, like we kind of reconnected on LinkedIn, and it's a brotherhood, man. You know, football is a brotherhood.
Mhm.
You know, so it was good. Like track and field is more of an individual sports.
Yeah.
I like the team games, man. I like people. I like guys. I like to you know, party afterwards with these guys too. So
I love, again, I appreciate you being so honest about sharing.
yeah,
But you know what was really interesting? Like as you shared it, it really reminded me about how you actually get better at anything in the game of life. It's really about immersing yourself. It's about taking inspired and focused action. It's about actually doing the thing, right? Like you talked about, it was, you know, I was just a sponge. It was getting on Burger Squad. It was getting on special teams looks. It was just fully really immersing yourself. And it wasn't just, you know, thinking about doing it. It was like actually doing the thing. And right, and that's how you learn, and that's how you get better, and that's how you really achieve greatness.
absolutely. I wouldn't even say being an expert, man. I think if you want to be good at something, you have to, you know, you have to study from the best. You know, you have to
Mm.
observe, you have to watch. And this day and age, we didn't have it too much. YouTube was kind of new and things like
Yeah.
that when we were early 2000s or whatever. I don't really remember, but I think the talent nowadays, you look at the talent and how much more advanced these kids are at the age that we were, like 18 years old, 16, 18 years old. You look at these football players, they have access to all this film, man,
Yeah.
and they are watching in real time. They're watching techniques. You know, like there's so much access to like just learning, like the greats do
Mm.
what they do well. Like they have, you know, it's the access to it is it's right there, you know. So I think it's just you know, to be great, you have to study the greats, you know, before you know, can be really good at something.
Yeah. It's like that idea, right? Success always leaves clues, like we talked about at the start of the call.
Apps, you bet, man.
Okay.
So,
So in this transition, and really what reconnected us, and again, we talked about, you know, and that's why I love this idea of like brotherhood. And that's one thing that I've really, especially at this stage of our life, I love the fact of this brotherhood, right? Like a couple of weeks ago, I had on Jay Leroy, right? I had Coach
nice.
McKay on, right? And you know, you have all these, you know, part of that brotherhood. And
Hmm.
it's funny how it just, you know, you kind of reconnect and you realize how much similarities you had there. So how we reconnected was I really saw on LinkedIn that you were really becoming a leader in this diversity, equity, and inclusion space, right? And you are sitting now as the chair, right, of the
That's right.
Diversity Council in the
Yep.
real estate industry. So I'm curious, what has it been like transitioning into a leader? Because as we were talking about before we got on here, diversity, equity, inclusion is something that those conversations need to happen now. The change needs to happen. The society is ready for it. What prompted you to sort of jump and become a leader in this space?
Oh wow. That's a kind of a loaded question for me. Sorry. You know, one of the things with growth, man, as a professional now, you know, being a sales representative, commercial real estate, sorry, excuse me, it's all about growth. It's being an entrepreneur, you have to be a jack of all trades. You're in sales, you're in marketing, prospecting, researching, closing deals, knowing how to put a deal together, contracts. Learning this business is about people and it's about relationships and communicating with people. And you know, I didn't feel confident enough, you know, even just doing public speaking, you know, that terrifies me. I have no problem being out on a field or, you know, entertaining people, you know, running around, you know, tens of thousands of people, you know, but to speak to people is something that it was kind of terrifying for me. And I'm just, you know, I'm going to be completely honest. And it was a challenge I wanted to get over. And so here was an opportunity for me to grow as an individual, but also professionally, you know, so that was one of the main reasons why I got involved with it. Literally, it was never planned. It was really just kind of, you know, the events of last year, like we've all experienced it. What happened last year with the racism, Several different events in the past, like say 12, 24 months, just been escalating. And uh, that was another reason why I got involved with this. And you know, I don't like bullying. I don't like to see weak people, strong, prey on the weak. I think there's a lot of that going on. I think there's too much hatred out there. I think we need to kind of just kind of take a step back, man, and just realize that we all kind of just want the same shit in life. It's just we all want to have good paying jobs. We want to take care of families. We want to grow old. We want to be in love. We want to be married. We want to have, be able to retire with some money, And so I think people just need to just kind of take a step back. And I think we've lost our way. And I think this COVID thing, it was almost like the perfect storm for many different reasons. Like this whole idea of inequality, discrimination has just been swept under the rug for too damn long. And it's become a social norm. It's socially accepted by everyone. And I think we need to just kind of take a step back and say, like, these things are not right. Again, we are all the same. We come from different cultural backgrounds, different ethnicities, gender. You got to deal with the LGBTQ. Like, we're different, but we're all the same, man. Like, we all want the same things. And I think we just have to just kind of just realize that. And that's the reason why I want to get involved with this. I just think we need to change these social norms in society. It's just everyone just wants a fair shake at life. No one wants handouts. Sick of hearing these things about, like, playing the victim. No, it's not about playing the victim. It's about just equality. Just having a fair shot at opportunities. If you go to school, if you study your ass off, if you spend all these thousands of money to get an education, there should be an opportunity for whatever it is whatever your passion is, and just give people opportunities like that. And it's on the bigger sense of things, it's going to make communities stronger, all communities stronger. Like, there's no reason why there should be, like, I'm all for people making money and having great lives. I'm totally for that. I want everyone to do well. Mm-hmm. But, cities and communities, no one's really winning if, other people are struggling that tough. No one's winning. Violence and crime and things like that. It's a byproduct of a lack of, an unequal distribution of resources out there. Mm-hmm. And that's for me, we need to start changing social norms and just kind of just being more empathetic towards other people and more caring about other people. And I feel like, as CBRE we're an international company. We're in every pretty much major city across the world, like the 4 continents, China, the US, Canada, you name it, England, all of that. So as a big employer and like a company with that, like a publicly traded company with a platform like that, you have a social responsibility to start changing the social norms and the status quo of, we live in a world where a white male has a better opportunity of getting a job than, say, like a black female. Mm-hmm. He will most likely get a job easier than her, and he'll most likely get paid more than her. I'm all about hiring people based on merits. I'm not about these quotas nonsense or anything like that. Hire mm-hmm. people, based on their merits, and if they're the right person for the job, hire them, regardless of their last name, the color of the skin, their gender. Mm-hmm. Their sexual orientation, whatever. Who cares? Young or old, if they're qualified, hire that person. And that's what's wrong. We have this idea of, people are best suited, certain group of people are best suited for this sort of job, or a certain individual is best suited for that sort of job. And it's nonsense. It's if people, we all have talents, we all have passions. Allow the people who are good at what they do what they are good at. And that's all it is really all about. Yeah, and I think it's just this time it's needed, man. It's like, I grew up when we were young, and we saw that George Floyd incident, and like, I wasn't surprised by it. Like, we've seen this story time and time again, police brutality. And I remember when I was young, and there was, who was it? Oh boy, the guy who got beat up by the black guy in Los Angeles got beat up by like 4 cops. What was his name again?
Rodney King.
Rodney King, like here we are like 20 years some odd later, and it's the same bullshit, man. Like
Mhm.
I'm just kind of tired of it.
Yeah.
People have to do better. People have to, like, we're 8 billion people. It's going to get bigger. You have to be tolerant towards other people in this world for all of us to survive and
Mhm.
to get along in this world. So, and again, so kind of bringing it back to the beginning, the reasons why I really got into this was just things need to change. People need to do better and treat people better. We need to provide more opportunities for everyone.
Mhm.
And it was personal growth for me, personal and professional growth, for leadership skills. And it's been tremendous, learning how to, I had to prepare these meetings or council meetings monthly and biweekly. We set up like, subcommittees that we broke up, certain sort of topics in terms of, like, we had the talent, we had retention, and we had cultural subcommittees within our diversity council. And we appointed chairs and vice chairs for these council, and I was really kind of responsible for putting that whole organization together, or that the group together, and conducting the meetings and things like that. So that was a huge growth for me. Preparing and putting a lot of work after work, trying to putting time in the weekends, and it was a really really good experience for me in terms of growth. And I'm really really glad I did it. So yeah, it's just any opportunity to grow. I think we don't really think a lot about it when we're younger, but like as you get older, like we all have these fears and things like that. And I think the best way to grow and to add to your journey and to get better is just to tackle your fears. And that was a fear that was huge for me, and I feel like I did the job. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's about it.
I love that whole story. Um, and a couple things really jumped out at me, brother. One, that ability, like that athlete mindset, you using those leadership abilities, right? That obviously, we've developed through sport, and the ability the willingness to jump to the front of the line, to speak up when things, yeah, this doesn't sit right. I'm going to step up and speak up for what's right. So that really jumped out at me. And two, I love the fact of you just taking on, something that made you feel uncomfortable, something that made you, have those feelings of fear. And we all get that, folks. And I'll let you in on something, folks. I think some illusion that a lot of people have is that high performers, right? Like that they never experience fear. Like everyone experiences fear.
Oh yeah.
The only difference is successful and people and highly effective people learn that they need to run towards it, because on the other side, when you run through that fear, and anyone that plays contact sports, when you run through fear by taking action, freedom is on the other side of that. So it's just because, yeah. So that's what I really loved about what you shared.
Absolutely. You know what? I'll share a story with you. It was my very first CFL game. It was at the Rogers Center.
Okay.
What, like 2006, I think? God damn, that's such a long time ago. Sorry, excuse my language, but
It's
it was
all
such a long
good.
time ago. They talk about like not fear, but just like anxiety. We got the Argos jersey on, and there's tons of people. You're in the pros now. It was a preseason game, and I believe it was on the kickoff return, as a rookie there, and I was literally shitting my pants, man.
Yeah.
Holy crap! It was just nerve wracking. Prepared. I'm playing against all these pros, day in and day out for practice for a few weeks and things like that. But like when the lights are on, there was that a bit of anxiety. I hadn't felt that rush in a while, and I was like looking across the line, and these guys are like, holy geez, yeah, like these
Yeah.
guys are huge. These guys are huge. Like I'm a big guy too, but like, like through the lens of my eyes, I'm looking at these guys and they're huge. They're professionals and stuff like that. But you're right, man. After that first kickoff, like all the jitters went away, and you just
Mhm.
play. So you got to run towards these things, man. You just do it. If you fear, just I think Will Smith or something. You always hear these quotes and things like that. Just run towards these fears, man. Like if you fear something, run towards it. And uh, just I think it'll just be good, positive outcome if you do
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Mhm. So again, again, timely conversation. And what I'll share with you is I read an article, and you brought this up, that there are certain things that are normalized, right, as we grow up, right, in culture. And it's not that here, there. It's just, it's the environment. And there was an article that came out about from McMaster talking about one of their first year athletes, a London guy, Canadian born Chinese. And he talked about how part of his, he realized was he wanted to inspire and, empower other, members of the BIPOC community to really to show them what's possible. And it's funny because when I read his story, and again, I remember him just, coaching in London, and I thought, what insight for a 20-year-old to see that, I'm going to show people what's possible. But I just thought about normalizing. I don't remember playing against many other Asian athletes growing up, and it was normalized. So it's just interesting that you brought up this idea that, sometimes we normalize, we sweep things under the rug, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Yeah, like from the professional side of things, office job, corporate, corporate life, I started off my career at CB working, in the financial district. We have an office. We have 3 brokerages in Toronto. We have a downtown office. We have a north office that's basically, 401 and the Don Valley Parkway. And then we have another one by Pearson Airport. And when I was hired to work downtown, started off in research down there, and that's their broker training course. And, suit and tie, you go down there, and, Toronto's it's a very multicultural, place to be, like you see all walks of life, different ethnicities everywhere you go, but financial district, you don't see that. There's not a lot of representation of, Black guys in suits, they were there, but you just don't see them as often as you do, like walking different neighborhoods and things like that. So it's, representation is so important, especially the time and place that we're in right now. Qualified people being in these positions. And I think part of the transition as we move forward with all of this is the younger generation needs to see representation of seeing themselves. They need to see someone that looks like them doing what they might consider trying to do later on in life. Seeing that representation is very, very powerful. In all industries, sports, the professional world, government jobs, corporate, you name it, everything. So yeah, like this guy that you're talking about in London, this 20-year-old, he's wise beyond his years. It sounds like, like he gets it. So it's really good. Yeah.
So I'm curious, again, being, you've embraced this leadership role. What is the next thing that has to happen? So obviously the awareness is there, right? Like people are like having these conversations is great, because the more of these conversations, the more we normalize having these, right? I think it gets rid of some of the fear, the stigma around talking about things like race and equity and all that. I am curious from your perspective, what needs to happen for us to continue along this journey to build more of these better representation, more opportunities in all aspects of the game of life?
I think it's understanding that's a journey. This is a journey in itself. Let me just kind of back this up a little bit. Where the world is going and what the next generation of the workforce wants is more diversity. They grew up with diversity in their, university and schools, their sports team, Black, Asian, Indian are moving into all sorts of different neighborhoods. Communities, the workforce, the next workforce wants this with their companies. You need it's if you're not, you're going to be a dinosaur. Like literally, this is the biggest trend that's being discussed in real estate right now. All the largest institutions, all the largest brokerages, CBRE, like OMERS, we were talking to OMERS, the Oxford Properties, the Ontario Pension Fund, people there, and they're all investing. They're doing they're doing their background due diligence. They're learning. They're studying the space. They're trying to understand what the new employees want and what they're expected of them. the social governance, it's such a big thing right now. So what needs to happen is a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people, if anyone can just Google it, Google their favorite company, and they have a web page directed towards DEI. I'd almost say like more than 50%. If you go out there, everyone who is a major, household name is getting in this space. And what needs to happen is you can't just talk about it. You got to take real action. Like there's a huge discrepancy behind people who saying, yeah, we're more diverse, and they're posting on their website, or they're making, statements in, the media or whatever. But if you're not practicing it, if you're not really investing in it, if you're not looking to hire and train and make sure that when you bring in diverse, women, people of color, Asian, LGBTQ into your organizations, you also need to make sure that you're investing into them like you're investing into other people within your organization. So there's an advancement, so they can grow and become leaders in your companies. And I think a huge issue and a problem moving forward is like people will, like they want to appear diverse. It's just not part. That's just a fraction. That's just a portion of the equation here. You need to develop, the infrastructure to make sure that proper training, they're getting the right type of mentorship, again, like going for advancement. A lot of the new, what is it, Gen Z, the millennials, they want to advance, and the baby boomers, like it's so many things, man. We're at a crazy time in society where it's almost like changing the guards. You got these baby boomers who are next 10 years are going to all retire, and you have these new leaders who are budding leaders within the organizations who are moving up and taking these baby boomers' place. And yeah, like it's such an interesting time right now. It's a really good time right now. I'm just really happy that we're finally having these discussions, because so many people and so many communities have been talking about this issue. We're not being victims. We're sharing our stories of real stories of what's really going on. What we're seeing today is that everything is being recorded. If there's not street lights recording something, or security cameras, we got these smartphones that are recording everything right now. So these stories are now being played in social media and everywhere. You cannot deny the fact that this is really happening. They're not just stories, real stories. It's not about being a victim. It's just talking about just being treated fairly. That's what this is really all about, so.
Yeah. And I love that, right? I think even just having this conversation today, right, opens eyes and gets people to stop and think and maybe find opportunities to make this world a better place, right? To make it more diverse, to more equitable, more inclusive. Because really, I think it all comes back full circle to the idea that we all want the same thing, right? It doesn't matter where you were born, skin, the color of your skin, what your sexual orientation is, what, socioeconomics. We all want to live a great life. Our definition of it, that's it. And that's the common connector to each of the 7.9 billion people on this planet.
Exactly. And we had talked about that in football. I remember talking, Michael Pinball Clemens, he was like interim coach. I think we were like 2-7 the very first year, and he was just a huge anti-bullying, and he was just like, he would come in and he would just have like life chats with us first thing in the morning with a team meeting, and it was always about like you are me and I am you, and just bringing it back home and just kind of getting centered again that we all want the same thing here, man. And I think a lot of people just kind of forget that, so yeah.
So I want to be respectful of your time, because again, I know you kind of built in a break there. So I guess what I'd love to know, if anyone wants to get connected to you, maybe some of our old teammates, part of the brotherhood, wants to get reconnected with you, what is the best way people can reach out and just have a conversation?
LinkedIn. I'm not really too active with social media. I have a LinkedIn account. As you already know, my closest people like call me and I talk to them. I'm trying to get back to how we did things the old way. I think there's a gazillion ways to connect with people nowadays. You got so many social platforms, and I feel like there's a less of a connection. So the people close to me, they usually call me or text me. But for everyone else, LinkedIn, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on social media with my Instagram account. I don't have Twitter. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Facebook. Any of that. Yeah, there's too many distractions, man. It's yeah, like I'm still trying to grow. If I have free time, I'm trying to make it a priority to read more. Read more books and things that I'm interested in, things I want to learn, for my business and things like that. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to share the LinkedIn, and I do love that. I love that how we chatted this week. It was over the phone, right? And it's just funny that you don't do that a lot these days, which is cool. I love that. Like you said, we went old school. We had a conversation on the phone.
It's important, man. It's very, very important. Less texting and more phone calls, I think.
I just want to end off, Leron. I just wanted to take a moment just to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for the man you are, right? The dad you are, the son you are, and just more importantly, the great human being you are. I'm so grateful that we were able to reconnect. I love the fact and I see that, there's no coincidences. Our mutual passion to really make this world a better place is what has brought us back. The brotherhood was at first, but now it's coming back to make the world a better place. So thank you for choosing to be, just you. So thank you, brother.
Thank you. I thank you too as well, and I appreciate that. Much respect to you too as well, man. What you're doing is good stuff. It's leadership. It's helping other people grow. Connecting the dots here and there. So hey, good on you too as well, man. I really, really do appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Well, folks, here's my challenge to you. Leron shared lots of nuggets of wisdom there. And what I want you to do is to apply one of them and find an opportunity to show up great today, to just be the shining light that you were meant to be. And you know what? I'll go back to, the whole premise behind my book. You are greatness. So shine your greatness, right? Exploit your gifts, your talents, your abilities in the service of others. And that's my challenge to you today. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time in the huddle.
Thank you, sir.